I would like to share with you thoughts about what is state, what is a country, because right now NATO is planning war with Russia, 2017. This is the book. And according to this war general, Sheriff Richard, that's exactly what will happen in a year. And they have really all the means and all the financial matrix to make it happen. So we have very little time to stop it, because we are in the middle of real information war that is creating war. And it has the whole matrix of systems, of weapons of terror to scare us, to submit to their new world order. Because that is the goal of this scary duality of East and West, war. And it is really an inquisition. It is an inquisitorial palace planet. This is an old Inquisition palace that I visited in Malta. But the modern Inquisition is much more advanced. We move within its web all the time. It's not in a little cell you're being put, because you can escape such a little cell. But the modern world, the digital web of it, nobody can escape. They have sort of chipped your passports, and they have digitalized the money, and you have to really have it to survive. So the digital Inquisition prison is the world now. And it is truly changing the resource, the planetary resources, their properties are being overtaken by huge corporations. This is how the land has been overtaken by modern courts in the United States that have taken it away from indigenous. And it is through the web of courts that this happens, through the web of definitions of what is country, what is money, through these laws taken by parliaments, through the president's speeches, which is a Masonic order. And many of you have seen the Protocol of Elders of Zion, where it is much better described how it works, where it is really described openly what is going on indeed. It is an occult order, a Satanist order, where it is a death cult. It is so that on all the sacred places, in all the churches now, people do drink blood and eat flesh, and they praise a dead man on the cross. And it's all about suffering, and it's all about sinning, because the sins will be taken away. You can sin how much you please. That is indeed so, and this is where you have been born to live. But there is another path. And though these 8 religions that exercise these death cults, and many more there are, they are in place, but the sacred traditions are still in place too. And the gods are there for us, and we can choose divine paths. And though these religions have been put on us by the Jewish brothers, and the Zionist protocols are also very much Jewish, they do learn us about how to do worldwide investigation and prosecution of corporate criminals. And we can learn that from the Jews. And my heart does ache with my Jewish brothers, because the harm done to them in those deserts where their predecessors were drawn around for 40 years is just unbelievable. It broke their pagan souls and turned them into servants of dark forces. But still, there are so many friends of mine who are not Zionists, who are wonderful, loving Jews. And I'm very grateful to them for being on my path. And it's on you, Jewish brothers, that the life on earth depends, because you have the networks that rule the world now. That rule even these NASDAQ companies that overtake all the country main country resources. These are, of course, also criminal corporations. And all this business structure is a criminal teaching, how to overtake resources of indigenous peoples and to steal them for global corporatists. That is an ongoing New World War. But how do they do that? How do they create these corporations that NASDAQ further on gives to global investors? Yeah, they created these countries, and it was approximately soon 100 years ago that they created Latvian Republic. And what was very important then, when they fooled Latvians, was that they established this beautiful Latvian Republic Council, where 80% of the council were indigenous Latvians. And it was promised here, it says, that 80% of any council would be indigenous Latvians, and they would rule what the order is in any place. But that was only to fool them, to create the entity that is Latvia, so that they could conquer a small unit. And obviously, they managed then to drive out all the Germans out of here. Though when we had German order here, German-Russian order 100 years ago, the families were huge, and the demographics were beating high up. And since then, it has been going just down, down, down. And now Latvia is almost empty. The agriculture is destroyed. Industry is destroyed. Shipping is all destroyed. This very rich fleet we had, it's all sold out. We are like the last Mohicans, the last indigenous, and we are saying no more of such order. So what is the country? So this Latvian Republic, when it was established, it said that all order derives from the people, and 80% in any council will be Latvians. If we restore that, we could accomplish quite a lot anyway. If we restore all the main definition meanings of the country, what is that? Post office, telegraph, railways and roads, land, banks. What more? Energy. Yeah. All of these were originally, then, 100 years ago, already what defined the state. Why, it says in this book how the state was created. It says that the state is the highest achievement of any social unit. By that we understand that all these resources that I have just mentioned are therefore evenly redistributed by the people within the state. That was the idea 100 years ago. That's why they were so gloriously happy. That's why they thought that this Latvian Republic would be something that gives everybody wealth and freedom. And a man at the cradle of this state in Latvia was Kārlis Ulmanis. And when the parties were demonized and turned into hyenas, then he took over the state and, like a lonely ruler, a dictator. And he was, of course, a very competent man. And he did put things right in many ways. There was economical outgrowth, and local people got schools and hospitals, and all the banks in Latvia were governed through local units, and money was emitted in the central bank by cooperative representatives. And we had this period, 20 years, of real democratical exercise, we Latvian people, and we have not forgotten it. So we do know that all these corporations that have taken over our resources have to give them back to us. So all the energy as Latvenergo and IT as Lat Telecom and telephone company Lat Telecom, as forest Latvia's nation, as property companies and privatization company, privatizācijas aģentūra. They who are dismantling
this achievement of a state, they have to be dismantled themselves, dissolved into units that work in accordance with our Constitution that says that all the power derives from the people and not goes to the corporations. So, to show you how this corporation is created just practically, I will go to Swedish example. And here you can see something that I have in my Swedish life experienced, as I have lived for 20 years in Sweden. And I have predecessors in my 7th generation who derive from Sweden. So this is the first digital card. That was used when I had to log into Swedish Post Bank. This is something like maybe 10 years ago that I was given this. I don't recall exactly, maybe 7. No, I think it must be 10. So this is indeed evidence of crime against state and peoples. This was a post office. You can see here even that it is produced in Sweden. Made in Sweden by Wall Aktiebolaget. And then suddenly, this post office system was overtaken by Nordea. And I received something like this. And as you can see here, it is already made in China. And you can use the same chip there, you know. The same one that was in this one. It's just a trick of cards. You sort of think, oh, I used this card in this post office, Swedish post office, official state unit. And then I put it into Nordea and it works. And then I think, oh, it's good enough. Though this is no post office anymore. This is already a corporation. Now it says in Swedish, can't read the card. So the point is how the state is criminally destroyed, but without telling about it. How we are deceived and lied about that the state is still in place, but it is not. It is a syndicate of corporations that takes over something that is so important for us. It is the means of our existence, our money, our communication systems, our transportation systems, our land, our forests, is all taken by private corporation cartels. And it is a syndicate that then creates, without any referendum, digital money. And without court, they will leave you without it. And then you give your children to their schools. And in those schools, they vaccinate those children with vaccines that are created abroad. And for 30 years, they have been working on fertilization, on your fertility destroying vaccines. And in Sweden, they have fertilized most of children in schools. The girls at 12-year-old in Sweden are being all vaccinated in schools. And it might be so that in the next generation there will be no children. This is a war that nobody is checking on. This is a corporation war against people. And we cannot leave it like this anymore. We have to take our rights and powers back. We have to protect our ethnogenetical tribes. As in Sweden, the communities are overflown with immigrant armies of immigrants. There was 20,000 coming a day recently in spring. Then they shut the doors. But it is really a war. And if you think that this is times of peace, then you are in hypnosis. You are in mass media hypnosis. And it is quite obvious that most of the people now are hypnotized, serving war against them, waging corporations. And it's like being in a bio-robot society. It's like you want to grab people, you grab them, you shake them, wake up! And they don't wake up. It's like this horror movie of people who are sort of polluted with some virus. But this is hypnosis that we have to stop. And we need to offer everybody rehabilitation. Because we have no other way to stop nuclear war systems but through education and through divine connections with higher forces. And there are fabulous people who have created solutions like this book about democratic money. And I'll find the page where it says something in English. This is about initiatives in other countries that do similar thing about creating democratic money. So we do have to protect our ethnogenetical tribes because we as Latvians and as Swedes, we are being genocided. genocide going on, systemic genocide. When it is your own government that exercises that, it's called democide. And maybe that's why we are having this democracy. It's a hidden word for democide. So please, we have the right to exercise a different system. And the most important thing there will be that you have the right to open a bank and emit your own money for the people that trust you. And you have the right to create an area where you live by your rules. Because the rules they have created now are the rules of democide. And the better your rules will be, the more people will apply to you. It's a natural experiment. You have the right to open a bank and exercise community experiments. And we will do this together, and we will get the world back. Thanks so much. Let it be so.